Now we will talk about the most important geopolitical, scientific, and artistic facts of the 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries. The 19th century is characterized by the great changes in science and economy, the completion of the first industrial revolution, ideas of bourgeois, imperialist, and the other side of the workers' movement. They gave rise to the main events of the century. Geopolitical events. Napoleonic Wars. Battle of hegemony between France and England. They occurred when Napoleon Bonaparte ruled France, ending in 1815 with the defeat of this. Opium Wars. Two conflicts between the Chinese and British empires, the main cause of the commercial interests generated by the British smuggling of opium from India to China. After losing the two conflicts, China was forced to sign the unequal treaties. Independence campaigns. The revolutionary struggles that saw the emancipation of the Spanish crown. They gave the way to the Declaration of Independence of Latin American countries. German unification. Before the unification of the territory, Germany was divided into 39 states. In 1871, a unified national state was enacted, the German Empire. Scientific facts. The origin of experimental medicine of Claude Bernard, the germ theory, theory of species by Charles Darwin, genetics. All of these fundamental for development and medical advances of the 19th century. Artistic facts. The most representative in the 19th century art movements were Romanticism and Impressionism. The first against the rationalism of the Enlightenment and Neoclassicism, and the second was a break with old tradition. This was the way artists replied, with some canons no longer felt identified. The Impressionists painted according to the impression that the light fell on the objects, not on how it was believed that they were indeed. 20th century. Technological breakthroughs occurred, scientific and medical, the end of slavery, women's liberation, as well as the humanitarian crisis which generated the world wars, genocide, and globalization. Geopolitical events. Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Document adopted by the General Assembly for Human Rights, where 30 basic human rights articles were accepted. It serves as the basis for the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. World War I. War is mainly developed in Europe and closed in 1919 with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. Receives the name of World War because war involved industrial and military powers divided in two alliances. It constituted major political, economic, and organizational changes in involved nations and even in the world. World War II, the largest military conflict in history, which left between 50 and 70 million deaths. The beginning was in 1939 with the German invasion of Poland, the first military step of Nazi Germany in its claim to establish an empire in Europe, which produced the immediate declaration of war by France and the most of the countries of the British Empire and the Commonwealth to the Third Reich. Cold War confrontation that started after World War II between the capitalist West led by the United States and the communist East led by the Soviet Union. It ends with the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the beginning of perestroika, and the fall of the Berlin Wall. The 20th century came with electricity to cities, and with it the creation and development of the telephone, the television, integrated circuits, computers, the internet, and others. the theory of relativity of Albert Einstein, the Big Bang, quantum mechanics, and particle physics are stated. Antibiotics, contraceptives, and organ transplantation are discovered. Born Cubism, Surrealism, and Expressionism. Cubism was born in France and starts to the avant-garde. Its main exponent is Pablo Picasso. In the Surrealism logic and the unconscious is exceeded, we find Salvador Dali as the main exponent. The Expressionism is usually understood as a distortion of reality to get closer to nature. 21st century. The century of the digital revolution, communications and technology breakthroughs, geopolitical events, the invasion of Iraq, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which gets closer Russia and China after the Cold War, the attacks of September 11, 2001, and the so-called war on terrorism, the financial crisis of 2008, the unstoppable rise of China, which has surpassed Japan's GDP and has been in second place after the United States. Scientific facts. The human genome is decoded. This advanced medicine has come a long way and is expected to predict, diagnose, and treat diseases which until then had not been achieved. Higgs boson, also called God particle, was confirmed in 2012. Boson existence depends, among the other things, that the current theory that explains the visible universe is correct. Nanotechnology, considered by many experts as the engine of the next industrial revolution. This technology has applications in electronics, biology, and medicine.